Hey folks, David Stewart here. Hope you guys are having a great day. Let's talk a little bit about Sweet Baby Inc. and some drama involving them over the last couple of days over from Twitter and from Steam. So if you don't know what they are a consulting company that I'll get deeper into how they manage to get work, I suppose. But what they do is they are a consulting company that's the equivalent of like what we have in the publishing industry of a sensitivity reader. Basically someone who is hired to tell a company what kind of propaganda to inject into their game in order to be approved by the current politically correct zeitgeist or get ESG money or any of that kind of stuff. I believe Anita Sarkeesian has something to do with them, but there's some other, I guess, anti-Gamergate people from like 2014 that are involved with this company. Anyway, somebody on Steam made just a list of all the games that they posted on their website that they've worked on and put a not recommended review next to all of them, right? Now, the whole point here is to inform you as a consumer so you can avoid anything that has been touched by a company whose entire purpose is to parasitically leech money off of game companies and to persuade them, let's say, to inject politics, undesirable and unwanted politics into your games. And I remember looking at the list of games and it was like, I don't own any of these games, and every single game on the list was bad. So it's like a touch of death to have this company at all involved with your consulting. Now, what's really funny is that they started a campaign on Twitter to try to mass report the person on Steam who made the list, who made the curated list, and get them to have their Steam account banned and all their games taken away, right? So we're talking not just like cancellation of a job, but like taking somebody's property in a way, in a sense. Not because he did anything wrong or bad or illegal or against the terms of service even, because he made a list of games that they list on their website that they worked on so that consumers can have full choice. This is what consumer advocacy and consumer choice is supposed to be about. Vote with your dollar. I've been advocating for people to do this for years. You complain about Star Wars and yet you're still watching Star Wars day after day, week after week, month after month. Stop paying attention to and stop giving your money to people who hate you, right? My friend and author Brian Niemeyer, who I've had on the show numerous times, wrote a whole book on it. The first reason you should do it is for you, not just because you're not giving them money, but because you will benefit from not having things that you don't like enter into your sphere of media consumption, right? So this is a great thing. You should be able to avoid a game that is involved with a political organization which you don't approve of and which has a proven track record of only being involved in games which turn out badly, right? Story is a big part of games. I've made this point before, like the art of the game is the gameplay, but story matters a lot. And so if the story is completely destroyed, that's going to make a worse gaming experience, even if the gameplay is otherwise good. And if a story is good and the gameplay is okay, you're still probably going to end up finding the game pretty enjoyable. I know lots of people that are like, I don't really like the gameplay of KOTOR, but I love the story. And it's like, okay, I will accept that, right? But it's still a game, and part of the gameplay is like deciding dark side and light side. That story wouldn't make sense outside of the context of a game, in my humble opinion as a writer of books and things like that. So yeah, you should be able to make those choices. And as I've pointed out before, forced diversity always comes at the expense of story. When you are forcing something into a story, you're adding elements into it that don't belong there. It's going to harm the overall effectiveness of the story, whether that's nonsense diversity that's included for no reason, or it's injecting sexuality into things where it's not appropriate. It always comes at the expense of story. So you can guess that, yes, anything that Sweet Baby Inc. is going to be involved in is going to harm the story because it's going to be injecting that forced diversity. It's going to be injecting politics into places where it's not appropriate, where it doesn't belong, where it's not designed to be. So it's always going to harm the final product. Therefore, you should be able to preemptively make the decision to never support that. It's also a good message to withhold money. Hey, you're hiring a company that nobody likes. Well, we're just not going to give you money. We're going to prejudge it based on the associations. The left does this all the time. The right can do it as well. There's no reason why centrists even can just decide that they don't want that stuff in their games at all, right? doesn't have to be this big rigmarole. Now, what I will say is, like, why are people hiring Sweet Baby Inc? Do they think there's really a demand for diversity and inclusion in games? Are gamers saying no to that? It's the opposite. Gamers are saying no to the games that Sweet Baby Inc is involved in. Why? Well, it's because there's, in my opinion, something that sort of approximates a I'm hesitant to call it like an extortion racket, but that's kind of what it is, right? You hire us or we'll drag you on Twitter. We who have big Twitter followings and have people that are willing to cancel you, will cancel you if you don't hire us. It's a tacit threat. You guys should know what tacit means, right? So it's in the background. And this is exactly what they did with this person. Now, under a normal consulting model, right, I would never want someone to not say I consulted on something, right? If I consulted on a product and I'm proud of what I did and what the product did, I want them to say, hey, David Stewart worked on this. It's like, yes, I worked on that product and I'm proud of it, right? If I were to edit someone's book, and my friend Brian said this on Twitter too. It's like, I'm proud that I edited books. I want people to say that I was involved with projects in a consultory role, because that's part of my business and I'm proud of it. But it's the opposite with Sweet Baby, because they do it on a, it's kind of an extortion racket. It's like, you're going to get punished if you don't do it. You're not going to get this extra money from investors if you don't hire us. So it's companies don't really want to hire them. And for another matter, they're not clueless about what kind of things they should inject in games to get approval, right? This is really basic, obvious stuff. Rather, they get forced to hire the parasite. I mean, like I said, it's like a diversity reader in publication, where you have or not a diversity reader, a sensitivity reader. You basically have a parasite who reads your book and then gives an opinion about something that could offend somebody, as though that matters, or that the author and regular editor don't matter. It's a complete parasite on the relationship, doesn't need to exist. Even more parasitic than an agent is something like a sensitivity reader, or somebody who's a consultant for sensitivity things, or for diversity, equity, and inclusion, anything that has to do with that. That's just a completely parasitic relationship and a parasitic position. So that's exactly what Sweet Baby Inc is. I don't believe any AAA publisher wants to hire them, because they're not bringing any value whatsoever to a game. They won't ship a single extra copy by hiring them. And in fact, it has proven that they're probably going to ship fewer copies by hiring them. They don't want to hire them, but it's a PR thing. Like, if we don't hire them, if we don't pay, if we don't bribe the people who have social clout on Twitter, then we could have a PR nightmare on our hands, because they will come out and call us white supremacists or some other nonsense term in order to make people hate us. The thing is, gamers are pretty smart, and they're also pretty resilient to the propaganda at this point. They don't get affected by somebody getting dragged on Twitter. In fact, if a developer is going to get dragged on Twitter by the right people, by Anita Sarkeesian or her ilk, then chances are people are going to like that person more. I think this happened with the Harry Potter thing. Remember, they tried to cancel this Harry Potter game because J.K. Rowling said, biological sex is a reality. So they tried to cancel the game, which she had nothing to do with, including the lead developer who, and it worked, right? Like, I think he got fired because he was like, maybe slightly right of center, right? He was to the right of Mao, and that's not acceptable. Didn't stop anybody from buying the game. They didn't care. And in fact, all the negative publicity made people want to buy the game more. Fact is, Harry Potter fans are normies, and they don't really care about a bunch of leftist diversity, equity, inclusion crap on their timeline. And in any way, the Harry Potter game was full of really nonsense anachronisms as far as race goes. It's like, this is 19th century England. Not everyone is white. Everyone should be white in the 19th century. 19th century England school, So anyway, there's nothing to it. It's really all about this fake game on Twitter and social media about condemning people and threatening them with a PR nightmare if they don't do what they're supposed to do, which is to have a bunch of gay and genderqueer characters to represent a tiny minority of the population that people become obviously annoyed with when it's inserted into a game where that doesn't belong, right? And chances are it's probably never going to really belong. We can go in deeper to all those factors. But anyway, that's what that's about. Now, the main point I want to make in concluding here is that they hate you. So Sweet Baby Inc. is a parasite that makes money off of games, but they don't do it for the money. And this is the point that I get around more and more and more and more and more and more. It's not about the money. They would do this for free. It's about ruining games for you And it's because they hate you and because they hate video games. That's why, right? It's because they hate you and they hate video games. It is not because they care about the money. They can start up another company that's going to do the same thing, or they would do it for free. As long as it negatively impacted you or made your experience worse, where they can say, this is bad, why is this in here? And they can say, it's because you're a racist that you thought it was bad. That's what they want. They want people to have a worse time. It's because they hate you. I've said it before, and that's the gist of it. So, stop giving money to people who hate you. Anyway, folks, I'll see you all next time. Don't forget to hop on my mailing list, dvspress.com/list or /free-book, and you will get a free book for joining my mailing list. And of course, you can find me on my Patreon. You'll find copies of the live rights. There's a free book every month on my Patreon, as well as other benefits depending on what you want. I'll even mail you books if you are on a higher enough tier, things like that. So check that out. Same thing with the Ko-Fi. So check both of those out, and I'll see you all next time. Have a great day.